very excited to be moderating this panel today. I think there are some amazing individuals up here. So our topic is really getting into readying executives for the FinTech age of crypto. As we know, there's a lot of excitement in the layperson sector as far as thinking about financial freedom. But until we really have a clear vantage point on regulation, we really don't know how to move. And even more so, some of the larger legacy companies and businesses really are going to provide us guidance on how even everyday lay people can get involved in crypto. They really want to be able to make moves and establish themselves as scions and leaders inside of this new type of emerging technology. So we really have some heavy hitters up here today, and I really want to get into how can these large entities and businesses provide us some insight and guidance on what they're thinking about blockchain technology, what they're thinking about cryptocurrency, and maybe some of the insights that we can gain from it. So thank you each for being here. I'm gonna give you some additional time to introduce yourselves and sort of go into what you do. And I sort of like to work this way down.
Hi, thanks. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Hi, happy to be here. Catherine Johnson. I'm Chief People Ops, Legal and Compliance Officer at Storage. We do distributed cloud storage. It was started by Sean Wilkinson when he was a student at Morehouse. And just last year, we started Storage Institute in Minneapolis, which is a 501c4 focused on creating greater diversity in emerging technologies.
Hi, I'm Ross Handler. I'm an associate in Perkins Coie's Washington, D.C. office. I'm part of the FinTech group, and I counsel FinTech, non-bank, and financial services institutions on compliance with state and federal laws. So to kind of give you a little bit of a background, that's how I'm going to look at today's conversation. That's the perspective I'm going to bring.
Hi, I'm Ashley Scott, Senior Director of Global Policy at Circle. Circle is the largest U.S. regulated stablecoin. We also consider ourselves to be an innovator in payment infrastructure using the power of blockchain and USDC. You know, our vision is being able to send money as easily as you can send us email. What I do is in the policy space, so similar to Clev, who you saw on the panel before me. So really interested and happy to participate in this conversation.
Greetings, I'm Derek Warren. I am currently the Dean and Associate Professor of Management at Grambling State University. I'm a computer scientist by degree, a graduate of Southern University, and the son of HBCU graduates. I'm passionate about blockchain, passionate about education, and passionate about technology, and I'm just simply excited about being here to share a little bit more about why it's so important for us to be engaged, involved, and aware.
Wonderful. And a brief note on me, I'm Alana Whitaker. I'm a retired ICU nurse of 13 years. Teaching is in my blood. And I have 2 ed tech businesses. I serve as the Jacksonville chapter president of Blacks in Technology, and it's my mission to get as many of us into this industry as possible because we deserve it. It's our birthright. So, Catherine, dealing with storage, I would really like you to go into what is storage's outlook and perspective on blockchain technology in the FinTech space.
Well, one of the things that I've been working on at Storage and as part of Storage Institute is really trying to build greater adoption of blockchain technology, as well as creating greater understanding about not just the opportunities, but also how we can think more broadly and get out of the box of, just speculative finance in terms of what this technology can do. And I think storage is especially appropriately situated to do that, because I like to say that we're blockchain adjacent in that, it's a distributed cloud object network, but it's not on the blockchain. We use blockchain by having the storage token, which we use to pay people for unused disk drive space. And we're able to do that because we're able to make global payments, quick, low-fee global payments, to have this new technology. And why does that matter? It's because of what this new technology brings. Storage, the storage network is ransomware resistant. It's eco-friendly. It's the most eco-friendly platform there is, and it's addresses issues that we're dealing with now and that we're going to be dealing with more and more as we go into the bigger data age with AI around security, privacy, affordability. Storage Institute has been interesting because it also, partly because of the affordability of this network, we've been able to work with founders who otherwise might not have the resources to be able to build their projects. So that's what my focus has been.
That's amazing. I've seen storage out and about at a lot of different Web3 events, hackathons, so thank you for your service, because really as founders, we wouldn't be able to mobilize as much as we have without storage's involvement. And I sort of want to come on down to Derek. I would like you to touch on it from an educator's perspective, looking at this collegiately. What do you think the FinTech outlook is from a college perspective in getting people educated and ramped up and sending people into the FinTech workforce?
I think that it's extremely important for us, each and every one of us, to reach one and teach one. So I focus on three things in particular with our students. I think we've got to expose them to these technologies. We've got to then educate them on these technologies, and then we've got to give them a mechanism, platforms to experiment, to really learn. And I say the same thing when I consult with executives. I tell them, listen, you really need to expose yourself to these things, get educated, and then become aware. And if you're afraid of them, hire one of these great consultants that we have here at the Blockchain Summit. I talk to some of these experts, partner with individuals. There are a lot of things that are happening in this space. Right now, I'm requiring, here at Grambling State University, we are requiring our students to all take cybersecurity courses at the freshman level. At least we're starting it this year. Our freshmen are going to be required to take security and threat intelligence.
All of the students?
All freshman students are going to be required. Now, I'm pushing it up the chain to my juniors and seniors, but I've only been at Grambling 6 weeks, and I'm trying not to get fired too quick. But yeah, it's important that we start forcing this, and I think they'll appreciate it later on.
And that's regardless of industry. So they could be in healthcare, they could be in anything.
Art majors, theater majors, I do not care. It's going to be a requirement.
Well, I think that'll help mobilize the workforce, because if everybody at baseline has some level of training, all of us will at least have seen the information and be prepared, or at least be exposed so we can pivot into it. Ashley, so Circle is a titan in this space. We know your affiliation with Coinbase and how much you've enabled payments across the board internationally for many, many countries. Could you sort of give your thoughts on where Circle's outlook is in the FinTech space and how that trickles down to other businesses? Will other businesses have to use Circle potentially as a payment gateway?
So it's interesting, we have a presence at UNGA this year, which is a United Nations organization that focuses primarily on how to distribute humanitarian aid. And we just put together a hackathon of how you can use USDC to administer aid to global countries around the world. If anyone is familiar with what situations are like when you are in a war-torn area or area that's experiencing a lot of distress, often all that you take with you is your backpack and your cell phone. And what's so great about blockchain technology or a digital asset like USDC is that you're able to carry your financials with you as you move to other parts of the country. I mean, really at Circle, the way our focus is making blockchain more approachable. I can even say for myself, just the nomenclature within the space is sometimes very overwhelming, like a node, proof of stake, proof of work, And so, for us, it's really about education here in Washington, education with our customers, and education even with more TradFi companies about what we do. We boil it down, we create a digital dollar, right? Like very easy, let's cut the stable coin. We have a digital dollar that can be used for global connectivity. And what makes it so great is the power of blockchain technology in providing choice, access, and competition, which is in the payment space right now. So the way that we're approaching executives in this space, and let's, stipulate here that executives in larger financial firms, both fintechs and banks, have digital asset sectors. One of our partners is Visa, another partner of ours is MasterCard, another partner is MoneyGram. JP Morgan Chase has a huge digital asset department. Fidelity has another large digital asset department. So they are taking notice. What they are waiting on is essentially, what will the regulatory landscape look like, and how can we, for lack of a better term, mainstream this, right? How does it come from a niche audience to more of a global? How do you get your grandma to use blockchain, right? Like how is it easy as eBay? Yeah. So that's what we're looking to do.
And that's sort of why I saved this question for Ross for last, because literally as an attorney who specializes in this space, I know this is not financial advice and it would be best if we were under retainer, but I would really like to know from a FinTech attorney's point of view, how are large businesses preparing sort of for this emerging technology that's been out here for a while? Blockchain's been around, it's just now becoming a buzzword and we're more aware of it. So what are some things that you're keeping your eye on as far as some of the litigation that's coming out with all these different businesses popping up, and what are some of the outlooks that you have for the next even 1 to 2 years? I don't even want to say 5 years because tech is evolving so rapidly. So what is your eye on?
Yeah, so I think what the attorney's eye is on here is that if you want to grow in this space, if you want to develop in this space, you're going to want to develop good relationships with your attorneys, but also with the regulators. Because if you look at the fintech space 5-6 years ago, it was kind of like the wild, wild west, right? It was almost wholly unregulated. And then as fintechs kind of got this like mantra that like you had to innovate or get out, they were really pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable and what wasn't acceptable in the eyes of the law. And I think that we're seeing, I mean, even within the past few years of the buy now, pay later world, like that wasn't regulated, now it is. And I think what we need to understand here is that if you're going to continue to be in this space, to innovate and to be a really big player in the area, is that you need to abide by the regulations. There's going to be money transmission rules. Dax spoke about in his fireside chat about the BIT license. I mean, you're going to see other states like, I think it's, Louisiana and California with the virtual currency business activities, licenses. So I think really the best advice is to really be cognizant of what's happening in the regulatory field and to ask those whom you trust about how best to comply with those regulations.
That's amazing. So another big question, keep in mind the topic is readying executives for the crypto age of fintech. Another big question that I get often as I'm out in the field and out and about from individuals who own businesses, own companies, they want to know where the talent is. Who are they going to hire? Who's going to work for them and help usher them into this new age? And we have 4 people from 4 completely different but very related businesses. I sort of want to come down the line and ask you what sort of talent within the own business that you're working in are you looking for? And then we'll wind up with you sort of how to educate people to get there. So if we can work this way.
It's such a great question. We talk a lot about financial inclusion. We talk a lot about, diversity in Web3, but we don't always talk about how to get there. And hiring is like really the best way to do it. It's important even if you're not head of people ops in whatever company you're in, to make sure that the people who are in those positions of making the decisions are aware of why this matters. Especially with, the Internet of Things, and the more that we are living closer and closer to our technology, it's having a greater impact on our lives. So where there's bias built into the technology, it's going to have a greater negative impact on our lives as well. When I started at Storage back in 2019, we're at about 65 people now. We were at, I don't know how many, 50 then, and I was the first lawyer that they hired and the first head of people ops. And I thought, what are you all doing having team members from all over the world? Don't you realize how difficult this is to manage, how much work that is? But then over time, I come to see the value of it by having different perspectives from people all around the world and focusing on diversity. It's really worth that effort. We have team members in Ghana, we have team members in Ukraine, in Brazil, Canada, everywhere, you name it. And I think that making the effort to keep your your mind open about where you can hire from and how you can hire is really critical.
So diverse hiring, yes, but what roles do you really feel that they're looking for at Storage?
Say that again, sorry.
What roles are they looking for?
Right now we have roles open in engineering and in sales.
Okay, perfect. All right, Ross, at your law firm, what are some of the roles they're looking for, and what sort of things are they needing to be trained in as we're pertaining to FinTech and blockchain?
Of course. So, I mean, bringing it back to the regulations, most of the regulations are actually going to tell you who you need to hire. So, for example, New York and California, they're going to require that you have a president or CEO, a CFO, a chief tech officer, a chief information security officer, and then someone who serves as an audit that reports independently of the board. But what I also want to bring up is that compliance really is like a top-down kind of understanding, right? I mean, if you have a CEO who understands compliance, if you have a board who understands compliance, that's going to make your organization much more likely to follow the rules and regulations. So I also think that while we're talking about who to hire, I think we should also talk about who to have on our boards. Because if we're talking about who do we want on our boards, we want former CEOs, we want former CFOs, because they're the ones who bring the practical business experience to the board, then who make decisions for the company. And then I just think it all kind of filters down in a much more distinct manner if you're not only thinking about who you want to hire for your organization, but who you want to hire above that.
Okay, and we're coming to a wrap here. So, Ashley, could you touch on who you're looking for at Circle and some of the credentials or skills that they might need?
I will remix this question just a little bit. I do want to encourage people to know that you don't have to be a blockchain expert to enter into this space. When I joined Circle, I had a background in transportation. I worked for the company Lime. I did scooters. But what I did understand was policy, the Hill, and Washington, and I pushed myself to use my intrigue to educate myself. So all of these companies need people in brand, need people in comms, need people who do product marketing, product managers. And so do not feel intimidated that if you don't have a big in-depth knowledge base of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, that you are ineligible to enter in this space. And I think Circle does a great job of that, of honing someone's skill set and knowing that they're hiring very smart people who can learn the subject matter as they go.
That's beautiful. My personal vote, before we wrap with our special educator here, UX UI is in high demand. And that's across every business and every field. UX UI is basically making things aesthetically pleasing and pretty for the end user. So making an app look easy for your grandma to use. That's what a UX UI designer would do. Making a website pretty for somebody who has no knowledge, no understanding of this technology. So look into UX UI design as a career. There's a lot of coding boot camps and certificate programs available out there. That would be my vote. Yeah. What is your personal vote for what people should get educated in this age if we're considering FinTech, blockchain, or just things they should consider getting educated in? And we'll close with you.
Quick point. There clearly, as you said, the future of work is about skills. There are a number of free online resources available to you. Those resources are available in artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, cybersecurity, data science, the Internet of Things, quantum computing, as well as what some people call soft skills. I call them power skills, communications, being able to write well, and especially in this space, being able to share your idea in a way that influences. Work on those skills, and you will certainly get hired in no time at all.
A round of applause, everyone.